kõigepealt nüüd pikem ettekanne ja selle toome teieni kolleegilt, kes töötab Soomes. Maija Patjas on tema nimi, ta töötab Rapalis ja kuidas luuakse targemaid töökeskkondi täna maailmas, aga eelkõige Soomes. Kohe kuuleme. Maijale sõna.
Hello, everyone. My name is Maija Patjas. I am the head of international relations at Rapal. Rapal is a software company creating real estate management software for private and public customers alike around the world. Our products range from lease management to space management to smart office solutions, and we have plus 30 years experience in the field. Today, the topic will be on how to create a smarter workplace. And to give you a little bit of background regarding myself and the expertise that I have in the industry, I will start off with a few points. I am the IFMA, International Facility Management Association chapter leader here in Finland, as well as part of the Workplace Evolutionaries Group, which is a group for workplace enthusiasts. I've been involved with hundreds of different workplace-related projects with customers, and obviously being involved in global networks, the past 2 years have outlined lots of different interesting happenings regarding workplace and how the transformation of work has happened on a global scale. Today's topic is how to create a smarter workplace. And before we define on how to do that, we should define on what a smarter workplace is. Regarding that, we think it is a mission possible to create better workplaces. That's one of the largest goals that we have. A better workplace, we think, means that it is a good home for the employees who are using that building, but at the same time, it's optimized from the perspective of sustainability, cost, and business. It basically means that there are not two sides to the coin that would be opposite, but actually with increased employee satisfaction, we can still have a very optimized environment from the perspective of cost or CO2 emissions. This, of course, requires quite a bit of work, and how and what are the steps to get there is something that I'll outline a bit in the presentation. Before we go into practical steps regarding what a smart workplace is and how to get there, I want to talk a little bit about how we've walked the walk and how we've crossed the paths into the current situation we are in. Workplace transformation has been happening around the world for a long time. The only thing that has really changed in the past 2 years is that now we're talking about a global scale problem that actually unifies the situation across organizations wherever they're located. People have been working remote in most countries for almost 2 years. They've been forced to learn to use digital tools, and they've actually been combining the physical workplace with the digital, and working from different locations, mainly from home, has created completely new challenges in how to create a smart workplace that contains all these different aspects. Let's look a bit into the history, because I think we were not creating very smart workplaces, unfortunately, even prior to COVID. So there's a lot of room for improvement. Prior to COVID, here's a Eurostat information slide with tables regarding flexible or remote work within Europe. I've actually highlighted Estonia here. You can also see Finland, other Nordic countries also on the top. So prior to COVID, we already saw quite a few people working from home or third locations, usually meaning that they typically would work their entire day or sometimes working from home. The number was a bit more than 10% in Estonia. We also can see from the right-hand table that the number of remote work or working from home was increasing year by year, but the statistics stop at 2018, and we all know what happened during COVID when most knowledge sector companies basically went to working from home and the numbers increased huge. The remote work prior to COVID already had an implication on how we use the basic HQ, the workplace. This graph here is a screenshot from our annual review, Optimize Workplace Review. There's a link at the bottom that you can use, or an address that you can go to download this for free. But we've been researching space utilization around the world for some 10 years. And this data here is information from time before COVID hit us. We can see especially the fact that even at peak hours in the office, it's at 10 o'clock in the morning or 1 o'clock in the afternoon, but still, even at peak use, we had almost 30% of any workstation empty at any given time. From my perspective, I think that already means that we were wasting money. We were not using the facilities in the way that we could. We were not optimizing the space use, and potentially we were not providing a very smart workplace for the employees that are using the building. Going forward from the time prior to COVID, during COVID, there were quite a few research activities, surveys that went out to people. And I wanted to point out a few things regarding productivity. The left picture that you see is from Leesman's study, Leesman's remote working survey with, I think, close to 200,000 respondents so far. And it actually shows us that most people felt that their home environment enabled them to work productively. More than 80% felt that way. And that's a bigger number than when you're asking people if they can be productive within the workplace, or the traditional idea of workplace, which is the HQ. We can also see that quite a few felt that when they were working from home, they were able to maintain a healthy work-life balance. But of course, we see also the other side of the coin, which is socializing and collaborating with colleagues, which was affected more negatively as people were pushed to work from home. On the right-hand side, we see a table from the business case for remote work, where it looks at employee time drains. One of the biggest time drains is commuting back and forth to work. During COVID, we realized we don't need to be sitting in the cars, every day, an hour to one direction, but we could actually use that time in a smarter way. Maybe to ensure that we have good health in exercising the excess time, or being productive on those days that we need to be, taking the kids to school and everything, but using that time more efficiently than sitting at traffic every day. Also, the study found out that interruptions at the office were much more common than at the home office. So basically, these I wanted to highlight because being smart, right, means that you can do your work smart as well. So the workplace has to support the fact that we can be productive and that we can use our time more efficiently. Excellent. Then going forward to the time post-COVID. A few things from different research that I want to show to you. This one is from the experts assessment with the Delphi survey that was released in 2020 September. And it already said then that offices post-COVID will be used less. Whatever research you look into, you can see that typically in the Nordic countries, the number of days working from outside the office post-COVID will be around 2-3 days a week. That's a huge increase compared to the time prior to COVID, when most of us were still working less than 1 day a week from different locations than the main office. Other things to note is that there's a trendy word, hybrid work, which probably all of you know. It has a different meaning to different organizations, but still, we're not going to go back to working how we used to work. There may be a few exceptions, but the time during COVID will have implications on how and where we work from, which is why I think the hybrid work is the new norm. Although I don't like necessarily the word, but it means that we will be working more flexibly than we were. Hybrid meaning it's not at the office or at home, but it's a combination. And adding third places to that is really important. There's a good quote from Peter Ankerstjärna, chairman of the board at IFMA, who kind of outlines the basic day of a employee. We probably spend a little time at home in the morning to avoid the rush hour potentially. Then we can go into a client site or to the office to work with colleagues or to have that lunch that someone else has cooked for us. We need different digital solutions to work with hybrid meetings, to work with people who are in a different location than we are. So organizations will have to accommodate all these different things in order to create a smart workplace. It's challenging, and we need new types of tools to do that. It also means that there are lots more moving factors, so to say, because when you think about 1,000 employees, one wants to work from home, one wants to come to the office 2 days a week, the other one wants to work from third locations close to the home. Some people want to get physically together more to learn from colleagues and so on. So actually managing and helping employees to create a well-functioning set requires quite a bit of work and tools. What is then the role of the new workplace? Or the old workplace, if we kind of look at the headline, which is the HQ, because workplace, you need to remember, contains much more than just the HQ. But here I want to highlight some of the kind of emphasized functionalities that the HQ will serve time post-COVID. It will be more a home for social interaction and collaboration. It will be a place to learn. One of the challenges that we've seen organizations have is when onboarding new employees or younger people coming into the organization, they don't learn as quickly because the older colleagues, the silent information that you get in the office doesn't move around as quickly. It's harder to understand how the network within your own organization actually works. It's not just about the social and collaborative aspects, it's also about the amenities. In a lot of surveys that we've done within our webinars regarding smart workplaces, people find that their home just doesn't support their work when it comes to ergonomics, the tools, the internet quality, and so on. So the qualitative aspects of the office will become more important. On the right-hand side, you can see Doug Laurie's quote regarding the way that we will work and how the role of the main HQ or office will change, and about accommodating those different needs. But you need to understand why the people are coming back to the office. And when you know those factors, you need to think about how that HQ or the space should be changed and how you can empower the people to socially collaborate and come together, but at the same time work when they are not at the HQ. It's also a lot about what are the pull factors. So considering the qualitative aspects of the workplace. I'm not going to go into the office if it's a noisy, open office environment where I don't have a space for an online meeting. If it doesn't bring me value, I don't have necessarily people there that I need to collaborate with. Why would I jump into the car to drive 15 minutes out from my house to work on something? So we've actually come to the point where all of us are thinking about what is the smartest way, smartest time, smartest place, and smartest way to do our work. To sum it up in 3 slides, I want to highlight that the way that we use our offices will change. That is quite definite. But are we prepared for that? You saw the slide in the beginning showing already the unutilized capacity of a basic office space. Actually, that included more than 200,000 workstations. If 30% of them are available prior to COVID, and we're expecting people to come less to the office, the numbers of wasted space are going to be quite big. I mentioned the online collaboration. Are we prepared regarding how we set up the workplace, how we set up the space? Do we have enough information that we know how many meeting rooms or online spaces, or what kind of furniture can we use to enable that sort of work increasingly? We want to attract those employees still to the office. We want people to collaborate. That is because very few of us actually are productive and do everything by ourselves. We need to exchange the information, work on the ideas together to get the best results out. We want to still provide a very good quality, safe working environment, and thus new tools are needed to support that process. Indoor air quality, I also wanted to highlight because it's one of the key things regarding a good, smart work environment. With COVID, we saw a ton of research come out where the CO2 levels of indoor spaces directly correlate with how fast a potential virus can contaminate people in the space. This is why we also need to be smarter regarding the indoor air quality. We want to avoid future lockdowns and really work on the fact that we can provide a safe environment, whether it's an office or a public building, where people can come in even at times when we may be suffering from a pandemic or other case. So ensuring good indoor air comfort regarding the safety side is important, but also regarding productivity. When people can actually choose the location within the building, for example, where they work from, it can mean that they are more productive. There can be up to even 2 degrees difference in the building from the other window to the other side of the building, and potentially someone who wants to work in a cooler environment can choose a location as such with this information available for them. From the perspective of managing that hybrid work or the new workplace is super difficult if you don't have enough information. How do you optimize the space use? How do you optimize how much space is allocated to different business units? Or how much space do we need in this and that sort of a function because the way that people use facilities has changed? We need data in order to actually make smart decisions. Well, how to then create a smarter workplace? My example will be highlighting smart office solutions. So how can we combine IoT information from sensors and software to create a smarter work environment? First, a few words on the technology. We actually, in our smart office solution, use different types of technology, but naturally have some preferred partners. The IoT technology that we use mainly comes from Connected Inventions, and the devices work in Sigfox network. It is an IoT network, which has a lot of benefits because it's low cost, low energy, also called 0G. The devices work with a battery pack, completely wireless, and very safe. It's very easy to implement and to move around, and there are multiple different types of sensors which with you can measure all kinds of different things, from whether a space is occupied to indoor air quality conditions to parking space availability and so on. We have tried to find the best technologies to different use cases so that we can make each and every customer's environment a bit more smart. But the great part here is that the technology prices have gone down in the recent years, so it's also not a huge investment anymore, what it used to be. Then coming into the software tools. We provide an employee app for the employees. We call it a workplace in the pocket. And I'm going to highlight some of the examples that the employees can use and make their workday a bit easier. Space bookings has been very popular. During COVID, the organizations have been able to limit the number of people who come into the office with enabling pre-booking of desks with the employee application. This allows the organization to define the capacity of people that can come in. The employees have a very easy interface to do the bookings, and they can ensure that there's a space for them as they arrive and that it's not overcrowded. Also, in the hybrid world of work, there are people who would like to be reassured that they have a desk. So even if you are in a very flexible shared work environment, you can provide that functionality to those who need that reassurance and then have otherwise flexibility without bookings in other parts of the building. It also enables ad hoc meeting room bookings, easy navigation to available ad hoc spaces, and also integrates with Outlook and other systems that potentially customers are already using. Today's importance is also about the systems communicating with each other. So our intent is to provide smartness to the organization with integrations and systems working together rather than having closed systems. Another aspect I mentioned regarding indoor air quality, we can share real-time information on temperature, humidity, as well as CO2 levels, which allows either employees to choose the location of work based on the temperature or identify areas with bad HVAC systems or bad air quality in meetings with many people to take a break and refresh the brain. We can show people real-time space availability, enabling the fact that you can find spaces that are available at any given time very easily. Just pulling out your phone and choosing the floor. You can locate the resources more efficiently, enabling an easier workday. You can create service requests through the app as well. So again, here, not providing another type of system, but typically, as you know, the process with a building user and the building communicating together, it requires that you go into an intranet system and download a file or something to fill out a complaint that a light bulb has been broken in this and this hall. This we can integrate into the existing systems where things happen on the background, but the employees will have an easy way to report on any type of problems, whether it's related to cleaning, fixing those light bulbs, fixing IT devices, or delivering more toilet paper into a toilet. This you can do on the fly, again, enabling the employee to do that when it's appropriate for them, instead of remembering it a couple of hours later after running into different meetings. We can also show availability of parking real time. For those with hybrid cars and charging stations, they can look into the availability and know whether they can get a charging station or not. Or regarding larger campuses, we can deliver information on waiting times so that at rush hour, maybe people can balance out the time when they go to eat and actually choose a quieter time. Nobody likes to wait or stand in queues, as we know. So all of this information will improve the user satisfaction and create a smarter work environment. One of the main things is the data analytics part. So there are a vast number of ways and cases how we can utilize this information that we collect with different types of IoT technology. This basically means that the people responsible on the facility will actually have fact-based information on how to improve the environment, whether it's related to, do we need more of those meeting rooms? Maybe we see that business units are working in very different ways, and we, post-COVID, have no financial people come into the office anymore because they prefer to work from the quiet environment at home, typically those who have been allocated the most amount of space. We understand how the spaces are being used, how the different teams use their spaces, and what kind of space mix actually provides a good work environment and supports the employees' work. We can collect data on indoor air quality to identify any problems there. We can modify and change the systems based on the data to achieve energy savings. We can share this information to service side. So, for example, we can provide a report on which spaces have been used and which have not in the past 24 hours to enable demand-based cleaning or more intensified cleaning to the spaces that have been used. Don't you think all of this creates a smarter work environment? You're using the resources where you should. You're helping people to get better access to information. You're actually making decisions based on the data. It really helps both the customer as well as the employee, or the person who's responsible in the space, as well as the employee out. Here's a few customer cases. which obviously highlights some of the results that they've gotten. There are cases with 3 buildings in the city that have been combined into one, with huge savings in rental costs, huge savings in occupancy costs for growth companies who've actually been able to accommodate more people into existing space rather than renting out new space. And again, remembering that this is viable from the business side, but also environmentally. On top of that, we get the additional benefits from the cost side to the softer side. So improved productivity, better collaboration with providing the tools to the employees, better satisfaction to optimize services and better directed demand-based services, less waste, based on planning the actual catering and the food on the demand on how many people are actually coming to the location. And as mentioned, better indoor air comfort and potential energy savings. So in overall sense, the ROI for a smart office, a smarter workplace is super simple. The choice and flexibility that you can provide to the employees will enable them to work smarter and be more productive. And at the same time, that will actually help you to manage the workplace with data instead of guessing on what you're doing. And combining these two aspects will provide better results from the cost side, from the employee side, as well as from the sustainability side. So it can really be a win-win-win situation for all. At this point, I would like to thank you very much for listening, and I hope you got some ideas on what is kind of the background information before COVID, how COVID has affected the way that we use our workplaces, and how going forward we can actually quite significantly improve our work environments and make them smarter.